At the edge of a vast, forgotten land, old concrete buildings stand motionless, like silent guards watching over the past. This place was once a NASA rocket and spacecraft testing facility, a place where humanity sent its dreams into the sky. During the Apollo era, these buildings were filled with the roar of engines, the voices of scientists, and the hope that humans could reach the moon. But after Apollo ended and the Cold War faded into history, several facilities were officially shut down. They were not destroyed, they were not erased, they were simply abandoned. As the sun sets, long shadows stretch across the ground, as if something unseen is still present. An old night guard once said, "Some nights I hear sounds like machines running, even though nothing is supposed to be running." The sound is faint, unclear, yet it leaves a chilling thought behind. This place was never truly silent. And that is where the mystery begins, a story never written in NASA's official records. After the sound within the silence, some began to ask a deeper question. What was hidden inside those abandoned facilities? Behind the old testing complex, there is a narrow concrete road, no sign, no name, and no record on NASA's public maps. Most people pass by without noticing it, but former employees know that this road leads to a building rarely spoken of. The structure is not large, it does not resemble a rocket hangar, but it is deep, sealed, and heavily reinforced. A thick metal door, rusted with age, bears a faded sign, its letters no longer readable. A retired scientist once claimed this building was not used for ordinary rocket tests, but for something never meant for public disclosure. At night, all surrounding lights remain off, yet on rare occasions, a single dim light flickers on inside. According to official records, however, no one should be inside that building at all. The building that never appeared on maps was not only sealed above ground, it also hid something beneath it. Below the cold concrete floor, an old metal staircase leads downwards into windowless rooms lined with long rows of steel filing cabinets. Each cabinet is locked, each marked with a single word: classified. A former technician who once entered the room claimed that some files had no project numbers, no signatures, and no dates, as if they were never meant to officially exist. Inside those files were strange structural diagrams, symbols unlike known engineering standards, and notes referencing responses from the outside. No document ever explained what the outside truly meant. One final note, written at the bottom of a page, stood out above all others. This experiment should never be repeated. After that day, the underground rooms were sealed, several files disappeared, and the building grew even quieter than before. The missing files were not lost by accident. In the underground archive, one steel cabinet remained, its contents incomplete, several pages deliberately removed. What remained referenced experiment number 47, no project name, no public authorization. This was not a rocket test, not a spacecraft system. It was an experiment designed to recreate space-like conditions here on Earth. Initial records showed success, machines operating normally, energy readings stable. Then one word appeared, written in bold capital letters: ANOMALY. No explanation followed, no analysis, only the indication that something should not have occurred. The experiment was terminated immediately. Several staff members never returned to their positions, and soon after, the entire testing building was shut down. The final surviving note read, "We do not know whether it was fully closed." After the anomaly experiment, 2 or 3 staff members vanished without explanation. They entered the small underground room and never returned. The hum of machinery continued, as if replaying their presence in the silent air around them. A retired scientist once said, "I saw for a single moment them walking in, and immediately they became part of the building's mystery." No cameras, no official reports, only scattered notes indicated that some staff had disappeared under extraordinary circumstances. One night, a faint light flickered inside the underground chamber, and sounds mimicked footsteps as if someone was moving in an unseen activity. Since then, remaining personnel declared this building was never meant for humans. After the disappearance of staff, some scientists examined the remaining files. Within old papers and steel cabinets, they noticed a strange, mysterious symbol. The symbol did not resemble anything known, not NASA's insignia, not any recognized scientific mark. It carried something that made anyone opening the file feel as if something was watching them. Some notes described, "It feels like a presence watching the places it shouldn't, and the moment you look, it unsettles your mind." When they entered the underground rooms, these sheets of paper seemed to move on their own, as if something was revealing itself. Some scientists said, "I do not want to open it again. It makes me feel that something outside, not human, is watching us." This marked the beginning of NASA's historical secrecy, not merely missing documents, but something that should never have been noticed. After discovering the mysterious symbol in the files, remaining scientists began noticing strange observations above the facility. On the roof of the abandoned testing building, there appeared an unusual light, flickering, strange, resembling an eye in the sky. Surviving staff said, "At night, I saw these flickering lights on the roof. They seemed to watch us, as if something wanted to understand our experiments." Reviewing old files, they found notes referring to observations from outside, responses from space. This was never explained and never entered into official records. One night, a scientist saw the strange lights forming circles on the roof, continuously moving, as if tracking everyone inside the building. He said, "It watches us, not like a human, but something from beyond, a mystery hovering above." After the watching from above, remaining staff were sent into the underground facility for a new experiment, the full details of which were never explained. The underground chamber was sealed tight, with dim, flickering lights reflecting on old machinery. Sometimes the hum of machines felt as if something from outside was present. The experiment began. Staff had to set measuring devices, control pressure, and power the equipment to simulate space-like conditions on Earth. But once the devices were activated, there were signs of the unseen observer. Machines began behaving abnormally. Blue and red flickers traced along wires and glass panels. Some staff felt that something was tracking them, and faint sounds echoed from the outside that were not human. By the end of the day, no one could explain where the anomalies had come from, and the facility once again fell silent as daylight faded away. After the new experiment, staff returned to the data archive. Within a steel cabinet, they discovered unfamiliar documents. The papers recorded observations of strange, snowflake-like patterns that appeared around the facility. Staff observations suggested that these patterns resembled mysterious presences from above. They were irregular, subtle, and could not be explained by conventional science. At night, they sometimes layered over rooftops, creating faint glows, showing that something was watching. Not human,
but something from outside. One staff member said, "It makes me feel that it's not just the building and the files, but something living above, observing us." After observing the strange snowflake-like patterns, remaining staff began to feel that something was watching them from above. One night, they saw blue-green lights forming circles over the building's roof, rotating slowly, as if tracking the movements of humans below. Indistinct sounds like whispers from above added to the sense of strangeness and mystery. One staff member said, "It watches us, not for humans, but like something from above that knows what we are doing." When checking personal equipment, notes indicated that machines would turn on and off by themselves, and records of some staff members had mysteriously vanished. The building, once daylight faded, fell silent again, but the blue-green lights still suggested that something remained above. After the blue-green lights and observations from above, the abandoned testing buildings were immediately sealed. Remaining staff were sent out, and their records were never officially documented. Underground, one experimental chamber remained active. Old machines ran on their own, faint lights flickered, and sounds echoed as if coming from above. One scientist said, "It made me feel that this building was not for humans, but for something living below, watching us from above." Other notes revealed that some experiments had detected external mysteries that were not human and involved strange activity that neither machines nor files could explain. After the facility was closed, records indicated that something underground remained active and continued to observe without anyone knowing. After the facility was sealed and underground activity persisted, scientists returned to examine the remaining files. Many documents were missing, some without dates, some with hidden symbols that could not be interpreted. Some notes stated, "It opened, it watched, and it vanished again." Opening certain files revealed a strange energy, causing machines to emit sounds that were not triggered by humans. One staff member said, "I cannot explain. Whatever is inside these files watches us, and it makes me feel we are being experimented on by something from outside." This suggested that even after sealing the building and the underground chambers, a mystery remained active within the files and records that humans were never meant to know.
After the mysterious activity in the files, records indicated that ANOMALY was not a conventional project name. It suggested that something not human was involved in the experiments. One staff member said, "I saw high-speed lights observing what we were doing in the building. It watched us all as if recording our actions." Other records showed that when entering the underground rooms, old machines activated on their own, bright lights flickered, and sounds echoed as if coming from outside. The documents and notes described that something was observing, not intended for scientists, and could participate in the experiments independently. One staff member confirmed, "It's something from outside, not human, and it does things we cannot explain." This revealed that ANOMALY was not an ordinary project, but an experiment with external involvement. After ANOMALY began showing external involvement, one staff member noticed machines and measuring devices displaying sudden forces that could not be explained. Lights flickered on and off on their own, and sounds like messages indicated that something was creating contact from outside the facility. Several staff members vanished after checking the documents and machines without explanation or official record. A retired scientist said, "When I listened to the sounds and watched the machines, I felt that something from outside was using sound and energy to do something we could not comprehend."
Records indicated that the building and documents were not merely silent, but that external activity was showing that humans should not participate. After the sudden forces appeared, the activity throughout the facility became increasingly strange and unexplainable. Flickering lights traced along wires and old machines, sounds like messages echoed, and one staff member said, "It feels like it is sending us messages from a place we cannot see." Records showed that old machines turned on and off autonomously, documents shifted on their own, and strange blue-green lights formed circles over the building's roof. Some staff reported that something from outside was orchestrating the experiments without human control. A retired scientist said, "I made it feel that this building was not for humans, but for something living outside that was observing and orchestrating the experiments." The anomalies intensified, and the records in the files revealed that something was observing and participating independently. After all the mysterious activity, the building and underground chambers were sealed, remaining staff departed, and the final files were quietly archived. Anomaly was not an ordinary project. It revealed that something from outside could participate in experiments, creating activity that humans could not control. The last record read, "It is silent. Whatever is outside watches us, and the building remains active, but humans cannot know." Now, the abandoned testing buildings remain silent. Flickering lights are off. Machines ceased their last operations, and the strange snowflake-like patterns on the roof exist only in the records. Those who experimented and recorded vowed that this anomaly would never be reopened, even if humans wanted to explore it. And so ends the story of Anomaly, leaving a trail of mystery in the abandoned NASA testing facility, unknown to anyone.